Welcome to the In The Works podcast, where we'll be giving you a behind-the-scenes view of what is happening in the world of Sportworks.io and Stormworks Studios. We're going to be covering the lessons learned, the products that were shipped, and stuff that's happening behind the scenes in the business. So kick back, tune in, and let's get into it. Well, it started smoothly, started well, and we're back to a podcast. Feels pretty apt, one might say.
Yep.
Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, welcome, or not doesn't know, but anybody that's new, which will be everybody because it's a brand new podcast. Welcome to the In The Works podcast. Connor and I will be doing a weekly podcast, and we'll be welcoming on some guests as well around the Sportworks and Stormworks businesses, alongside some people in the industry. And the objective of this podcast is to give people a bit of an inside scoop as to what's going on as we're building two businesses. But the reason it feels apt is because the first business that you and I set up it was kind of the first business. It was like the first real attempt at a business was a podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, attempt, I think, puts it in perspective, really. Yeah, we were ahead of the game many moons ago, 9 years ago, with a podcast. Now, they're everywhere.
Yeah, we were like early adopters. We were going into university, trying to get interviews with people, doing podcasts on the ideas revolution, as we branded it. Back in the days when Joe Rogan was still quite niche, but now every man and their dog, and now me and you again, have got a podcast going.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, I'm excited, to be fair, to get it back up and running. I think it's really casual and kind of, well, it's how people ingest content now anyway, just to kind of get out the message of what we're doing. People are always asking about the new business, how it's going, what's you getting up to. This is going to be a perfect opportunity to just, sit down, discuss what's going on, discuss what we're seeing in the industry. And yeah, just have fun with it, really.
100%. So where should we start? Should we go give people a little bit of a heads up what we've been up to with Sportworks? Because I think for most people that have got to know us over the years of having a business, they'll know us predominantly as the video guys. We spent best part of like 8 years growing a video agency, and the last 6-12 months we've kind of switched to being the tech guys. And I think it probably just would be helpful to give people a bit of an understanding as to what exactly we're up to and why we've done that. So why don't you take it away? Yeah,
I think the buzzword of today, AI, it's just absolutely everywhere, isn't it? So I remember me and you sitting down in, was it January? We're at last year at a mate's wedding in Sri Lanka. Just like, we're going to have to do something here. I think this is an opportunity where we can't let the time kind of pass. And obviously at this point, we didn't know what we were going to do. But it was, okay, I think me and you are probably more entrepreneur first than kind of being a creative filmmaker first. That was kind of an area we fell into from just setting up the podcast, loving the way production was kind of put together. It was brand new to us at that time, and we just kind of loved getting into something brand new and fell in love with it. Whereas before that, like you said, it was a podcast, and then it was we had like a magazine we were going to make, basically an online one. But anyway, it was all kind of stemming from business first and entrepreneur first and growing and building something. So obviously we sat there in Sri Lanka just saying, we had to do something here.
There's something to the effect of like, we've got to make some money out of this AI thing. It's like, it's coming in thick and fast, and we can make something out of this.
100%. So obviously with the industry that we're in, with the video side, and kind of being in that close proximity with sports teams and commercial teams, it kind of just became apparent to us, from speaking to the commercial teams, the challenges that they're having. And is there a way we can solve this with technology, which there is. So yeah, that's a little bit about kind of the nucleus of where just the thought of starting something new came about. But yeah, I'll let you jump in. Like, this was something we've obviously both done together.
Yeah, it's got, I remember we went out for a bit of food in Dishoom, and I said it's basically been like a bit of a journey of quite a few cuts over many years. So, when we first started the video business, it was just like, and even before that, it was just like, get a business to work. And we did crack it with the video business, which is now like continuing to be massively successful under the leadership of Joe Pickering. And in the process of starting that video business, we learned a lot around, okay, well, how do we operationalize this? How do we streamline all of our processes? And over the years, we spent a lot of time thinking about, okay, from a sales perspective and an experience perspective, how do we make this the best it can be? And I think, a lot of creative businesses focus on making amazing content, which obviously is critically important. But we had this like magic triangle of like product, experience, and brand. And the whole ethos behind that was like putting in all these touch points from very first conversation that we would have with a prospect, all the way through to streamlining how personalized their proposal would be, getting it to them quickly. And then through, sign off, like putting in these like automations and linking technology through our entire business, gave us this like window into operate like really seamlessly. And I think that was like the clue for us, but it wasn't really until, we had that conversation in Sri Lanka and we were like, this AI thing, we need to capitalize on it. And then I think, for both of us, probably the last like 2 or 3 years, I posted something on LinkedIn about this the other day, is like, I felt like I was having a bit of an identity crisis, because I was like, I love video content. Like, when we first set up the agency, I was just like obsessed. Like I'd watch like every YouTube video. I'd be learning about it all the time. I'd be like spending every, evening, weekend and day to day, like trying to figure out how to make better content. But over the years, and once the business started working, I kind of felt a bit of an itch to like try my hand at a different business. And just finding the right one is something that, we've had to be quite patient with, because with anything in business, it's all about like timing. And we essentially had this huge proximity of relationships with sports rights holders and particularly commercial teams. And we could see that the way they were operating, despite being these globally recognized brands, they were almost run like SMEs internally. Their processes were slow. The technology that they had wasn't built for them. It wasn't custom built for them.
100%. And just to add on that, it was a conversation we had kind of going back a couple of months ago, where one commercial member of a sports team in a Premier League team was applying for a job. This was before, obviously, he was at this club, at another Premier League club. And the quote he got from the CEO was, we've got the badge and people know us worldwide, but we're on like a corner shop.
Yeah. It's like, that is an absolute kind of on the money description of how a lot of these massive sports organizations are ran. It's like they've got this global reach and people go, this company, they must be like so sophisticated. But they've got a lot of these sports teams that like 5 people that are responsible for delivering hundreds of millions of pounds worth of revenue. And these people are like under enormous pressure to keep delivering that revenue, totally under-resourced, and they're kind of pulling tools from other industries and trying to make it work for sport. And we thought, well, look, I remember me, you and Joe, we were sat at the Belfry and we'd come up with this idea of like, well, let's take all this knowledge that we've got around like creative agency work that we've done over the years, all the technical knowledge that we know of how we've implemented tech through our business, the video business, and have a go at like solving this problem of helping sports commercial teams be able to like sell in a much more modernized way. And that's really the seed that we like, planted and went about trying to solve that. And where the product is today is like drastically different than where we started it out.
Yeah, well, what kind of blew me away was, obviously we've worked with a handful of clubs and teams from the video side. They all had the same problem. And then once we've launched the new business, obviously after speaking to a few other clubs, there's so many that are in the same position. I was just blown away from obviously being in this space and knowing a little bit about it, but actually how deep the problem goes across not just, a handful, but across, countries, leagues, sports and themselves, that everyone has the same problems. Obviously you might have a couple of outliers like, the Man Cities of this world, but yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people have the same issues over and over again. And like you said, they're under huge pressure to deliver. There's always changed regulations around who can sponsor, who can't sponsor, targets, certain amount of loss you can make certain years. So for a lot of these clubs, the prime driver of revenue is sponsorship deals.
It's like the TV rights they're going to get, and it's negotiated by the leagues a lot of the time. And then, you've got your ticket sales, then you've got, your merchandise, which, that's handled in various different ways. Some handle it themselves, some have like it outsourced to a particular brand that does the manufacturing. But the big open goal, to use a sport term, is the sponsorship. There is so many different ways that sports organizations can open up new inventory to sell sponsorship. And it can be the difference of like, being approved and keeping in line with like financial fair play. And that can be the difference of getting like a star quality player that's going to make a huge difference to the club at large. But yeah, it's pretty groundbreaking, where a lot of these clubs are at, considering what people I think perceive. A lot of the times when I've spoken to, friends, family, people that even explained what we do at like, a networking event or whatever, people go, isn't there people queuing up to like sponsor sports brands? And it's just not like that. It's highly competitive. There's an abundance of different sports organizations that are going after an abundance of different brands. And in order to actually win that business, it's hard work. And, they don't have the tools, like modernized tools built specifically for them. And that is like our entire, reason for being, is like, let's take this amazing industry of sport and just completely modernize that whole sales process and help these businesses. I think a lot of them continue to operate like corner shops or like SMEs, but just give them the tools.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because what we do, we're essentially multiplying their output. And not only that, but being able to do it in a way which is helping them stand out more. So when they're obviously pitching to brands or prospecting for brands, the way they come across is way more put together, way more credible. It's unique. It's, been crafted towards that brand as well, because that's another important thing is, it's all well and good slapping a logo here and there, but how do you maximize the partnerships? There needs to be some sort of alignment in place. How can the brands collaborate? How can, you ultimately help the brand as a rights holder, but, vice versa, the brand can get, what can they get out of the club as well? So yeah, there's a whole host of different things that we're enabling sales teams to do without necessarily needing to not be a corner shop. So yeah, it's very exciting space, and the way it's landed and the way people are picking up on it is, it's clearly a massive need.
Yeah. I think one thing that I'd be inclined to just give the viewers a bit of an understanding of is, how do you actually go from 0 to 1, starting a business like an AI business in this like current climate? Because there's a lot that like fly up and then disappear, and a lot of hype. And
5-step plan by commenting in below. Going from 0 to 1's tough, because ultimately, you've got absolutely nothing at that point. Yeah, it's just a mess. You're kind of pulling together some tools. It's important to have focus though. You're going to really give it a crack. Don't try and split between multiple different, projects or businesses, or, I think to really get it going from 0 to 1, especially in AI where the technology moves so quickly that you have to be on it. You have to have your finger on the pulse. So being able to dedicate your time to really focus on, right, how do I get this moving from 0 to 1? But it's also a good thing that technology is moving, because it does help you go quicker. But yeah, it's been it's been a challenge, but one that has been really exciting. And I think how we kind of done it was obviously we split responsibilities across the business. We'll kind of pull together, people within the industry, give us some advice. And then once we're validating the product, that people actually like it without going and spending stupid amount of money on building something that we don't necessarily know if people need, then actually, okay, how do we make this into something that is a bit more sophisticated? What team do we need? Funding route? How do we really go quick at this? Which has been something brand new to us, but
it's been a lot of learning.
It's been a lot of learning, yeah.
I think like the key takeaway is, if you want to start a new technology business or any business, you have to validate it. Don't go and spend a fortune of your savings or asking people for money until you've validated something. And like we've done talks to young entrepreneurs that are just like, I need somebody to give me like 50 grand to do this thing. And it's like, you actually don't. You need to just validate that somebody really wants what you've got. And for us with this particular business, I think we've spent the best part of like maybe 1,500 to £2,000 to validate it. And it was hard work, because it was really good advice, actually. A friend of ours called John Sewell, who has a tech business, we went and chatted to him about it and said, how would we go about building this? He's walked the path before. And he said, well, firstly, just like try and build it without actually bringing in developers. And because we implemented all this like tech and automation and AI through the video agency, there was enough skill set there to go, well, this is going to be messy and difficult, but we could build an MVP. So I basically started using this tool called Glide, which even now I would say to people is probably redundant. That's how fast tech is moving. But Glide essentially gave you the ability to have a user interface on top of data. So you had spreadsheets in the back, and then you had a user interface on the front, which is basically all an app is. I think people overcomplicate what tech is. Tech is basically data, so spreadsheets and processes behind it to make it work. AI is a bit more complicated. There's a bit of, there's a bit of neural networks that like do stuff. But like a lot of technology that's out there is just data and a UI over the top of it. But we basically built this this MVP, which showed how to do. We linked a load of different tools together, which emulated the functionality that we wanted to achieve. And every time that we needed to demo it to somebody, say if it was like a custom, sports rights holder, one of which that we demoed it to was a Man City, it would take us about 2 days to like actually prepare the demo. Obviously not scalable. Now it probably takes us about 20 minutes. But for us, we went through that process of going, well, we've got something that shows what we want this thing to do. Let's go take this to real sports rights holders. Let's go take it to some people in the industry and see what their reaction is to it. And that was really illuminating, because we showed some people what we'd done, and our first hypothesis of what it needed in it, we had 2 features. One was visual, one was written. And we had feedback saying the written is kind of like, not that like impressive, but the visual, that is taking us days and days to do. So if you can help us like generate hundreds of designs like instantly, which is what we can do now, like hyper personalized, custom tailored designs that look at the quality of a graphic designer, that is going to save us a bunch of time and enable us to personalize all of our pitch material like quickly. So we doubled down on that, and it's been a big mover for us in the actual technology. But before we brought in a CTO, before we brought in any developers, we went out and said, do you actually like this thing? Would you buy this thing? And got some soft commitments, which I think for any entrepreneurs out there or people thinking about setting up something, any business, especially tech, you've got to validate it.
And why you as well? Why are you going to succeed at it? And I think obviously we love the industry. We watch, sport non-stop. It feels like, obviously, we love entrepreneurship, building something from nothing. And obviously the network we'd built over the years gave us that competitive advantage. So yeah, and obviously you need to stick with it because as you know, you probably hear time and time again, resilience is absolutely imperative when it comes to entrepreneurship in general. So yeah, just another little bit of advice is definitely validate it, but why are you going to succeed with it as well? Which is another thing and a question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah, it's like getting the right people around it and convincing them with conviction. Like, yeah.
Good people are going to have options, you know what I mean? So you need to be able to bring people in, show them your vision, be able to influence them to choose you or to choose to work with you or to help you, whatever it might be, instead of the options that they probably have on the table. So yeah, I think this is a thing that Nick Holzer, when we went to see us talk with him at Aston University not that long ago, was two things he said he's really good at as a successful entrepreneur was, and he's also building an AI tech platform right now, influencing good people to come and join your mission and just not batten down when it gets tough, you know?
Yeah, because it will. It always does, doesn't it? Like, you know, even with the video agency, I remember we had conversations when the COVID pandemic hit where we were like, if we need to, we will move into the office and shower at the gym to keep this like ship afloat.
Different times.
There's a different time. Yeah, in business, it's like you've just got to have that fortitude and that grit and keep going and believe in the thing that you're doing, and believe in it even more when you validated it. Like, you go after it 100%. I think this has been a good introduction for us, just to give people a bit of a baseline of the business, where we're at. What we're going to be speaking about in the weeks ahead is some stuff around the sports industry at large and how it's changing from a content perspective. We've got, you know, Joe Pickering that's going to come on the podcast, and then, you know, me and you are going to be speaking around what it's actually like in the trenches of building a tech business and the lessons that we're getting along the way.
Sounds good. How's all the new features though?
And some of the new features, yeah. We've got some tasty stuff in the pipeline. Yeah, no, nice one. Right, see you next one.